In this video, I'll be talking about my drawing process. I'll be talking about shading, lighting, and details. I hope you enjoy. All you need is a drawing software, and depending on what you're using, your finger, a stylus, or a tablet. The first thing I like to do when drawing something new is to look up an image for it, so I have something to look at. Then I make it into a file and put it in the reference part of my program. Then I start with my rough sketch, which is going to be just the basic shape of what I want it to look like. After that's finished, I put the opacity down, which just makes it a bit more transparent so that I can add my real sketch. Sometimes I'll add another layer so that it's easier to see, but that layer also needs to work with what's on the character. Then, after that, I turn the opacity down on that whole thing and start making line art. Now I'm switching gears a little bit because in my line art I use a different tool called Multiply, which is in the blending modes right underneath opacity. Multiply makes shading and line art way easier, especially the way I do line art. It makes it so that you can have one color underneath another and still be able to see that one color underneath it. I'll show you so it doesn't make it sound as weird when I say it. With that explained, I do my line art, which is my first layer of line art. I usually do two, where I'll have one with everything, and then a second with more important lines and stuff. Things that won't be included in that are like creases and stuff that is like connected to one another. You'll see what I mean. So when I erase those extra things, this is what I'm left with. It looks kind of weird, but it looks cool when it's added with the other line art layer. Next, and my least favorite part of drawing online, coloring. This is where layers and where they are is important. I need to have my coloring layer underneath my line art one, or else the colors will go over it and I won't be able to see the line art. With that hour and 40 minutes, exactly, strangely, out of the way, I start shading. How to use Protect Alpha, clipping, and lock are important too, but I don't really use Protect Alpha or lock as much as clipping. And clipping means that anything that is clipped to a layer will only stay on whatever coloring is on that layer. I'm using Multiply again, but now here's a question. How do you know what color to use when shading stuff like this? I'm imagining that Rayquaza is probably like outside or something, though I'm not going to draw the background. So I have to think about how I'm going to make it look like the shading is still vibrant, but not like weird. A really easy way to figure it out is by what it looks like on white. So what the shadow would look like, or by looking at snow, which is a super easy example to see because it's right there. And when you look at snow, a lot of the times you're just like, oh yeah, it's white, even when it's dark outside and it's shaded over, it's white. But if you don't think about it as white and look at it for the color that it is at that moment, the shadow is like more blue than anything. So that's how I know where to start my shadows. I usually do 2 to 3 layers of shading just so I can add some extra like bits and make some bits darker, because a lot of what you look at is actually a lot darker than it seems. Especially in places where there's like creases and folds. It's almost black if you look into like a fold of your sweatshirt, so that's why I need to add more. Also, the design really wants these orbs to be shaded with orange, so I kept it that way and made Multiply on those colors. Now, I don't really need to do a lot of main lighting because just the darkness kind of shows how light it is already. So I just start with little highlights. Then little orb highlights just to make them stand out a bit and look shiny. Now I'm going to do highlights with blue. Maybe it's like reflecting or something, but usually I just do it to show how like kind of thin a substance is. Like if you look at your hand like in front of a really bright light and you see red coming through your fingers, that's kind of what I'm doing with the Rayquaza, but with like a more greenish blue color. Then I add secondary blue highlights just to make him a bit shinier. Now here's when I make a new folder, and this time I want it to be on top of the line art layer because I want the line art to kind of glow with the yellow objects in some way. Then I follow the path of the yellow objects that I haven't shaded and that I know I'm going to have be glowing. Now that looks cool, but now I need to add yellow light bouncing off of Rayquaza's body everywhere. Now, when the yellow light is done, I could be done, but y'all know I'm extra, so my last 3 layers are going to be more highlights. One for yellow highlights on edges, the second for light bouncing off of Rayquaza's own body onto itself, and third, shiny stuff, because it looks cool. Now, I'm officially calling this folder with the glowing stuff the like special effects folder. So I kind of just want to add a glowing red eye because why not? Now I want to add some kind of like weird art filters to it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the blending modes and go all the way down to burn, which will make everything a little bit darker but also keep the intensity of the light. Lastly, I kind of want to add a warm touch to it, so I'll use overlay in the blending modes. And that's it! You've officially completed the tutorial on how I draw things. Hopefully you learned about shading, lighting, and where to add detail. Thanks for watching!